Hello, I'm Yolanda Vasquez, and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. Joining me now in our Annapolis studio is Delegate Jalisi, who's also known as Dr. Jalisi from District 10. Thank you so much for coming in, Delegate.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time today. Let's talk first about all these veto overrides that happened a week or two ago with the governor. You were very, very passionate about one in particular, and you voted against the marijuana. Tell us about that one.
So the bill dealt with decriminalizing paraphernalia, which is used to smoke or use marijuana, and I was fine with it. But the other part, which dealt with decriminalizing the smoking or use of marijuana in public places,
did not work for you.
Did not work for me, and I had a very strong response from my community and my constituents, and they wanted me to vote against it to show their concerns that smoking of marijuana or use of marijuana in public places, public parks and such, should not be okay. And so I have a new bill coming up which addresses this, because I think that at a minimum we should have the use of marijuana in public places at the same level as we have alcohol, which is a misdemeanor with a $100 fine.
So you're going to have a bill that's going to hopefully deal with this.
So it should be at least at par. If you're saying that somebody cannot drink beer in a park, then he or she should not also be able to smoke marijuana in a park. Okay. And so that's what we're going to deal with, and that's why I voted with the governor on that veto override. Let's
talk about increasing funding for homeless shelters. It's been stagnant for 2 decades, you said now.
Yes, so that's the other bill I'm working on, and the funding for homeless shelters all over the state, especially for emergency situations like we had in Maryland with the blizzard, has been only $1.5 million for the entire state for the entire year.
For every homeless shelter, $1.5 million.
Right, the state only gives $1.5 million for emergency shelters, and I think that is very low. And as you've seen in the blizzard, 29 to 30 people died in the storm. Yeah. And we need to address it, because homeless people, when this thing happens, go to shelters, and shelters should have money to take care of them for food and water and all that in those situations. So my bill asks for it to be doubled to $3 million. I think $3 million is also not enough, but at least we can start moving forward where we have been stuck for the last 20 years.
The other issue that's of concern to you has to do with student loan debt and getting some relief for a particular portion of the community, dealing with orphans and foster care recipients. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Right, so this is a bill which has gotten bipartisan support, both from the Republicans and the Democrats. It is to allow a 10% discount in student loan balance for people who have been orphans or foster care recipients for 5 years or more. What it does is it promotes kids who have already suffered enough, promotes them to go beyond high school, go through college, knowing that they would have, we would have their back, and that their student loan would be discounted 10 years for every year they remain employed with the state. Okay. Now the reason being, we couldn't afford in the fiscal situation Maryland was to have a big fiscal note and a big expense on the budget side. So this would at least address the most affected part of our society, which is the orphans and foster care recipients.
In the last 30 seconds we have left, let's talk about grandparents' visitation rights.
That's the other bill I'm working on in Annapolis, and that's also got wide support there. In a lot of situations when we see a breakup of the family, kids are the most affected part of that situation. Sure. And grandparents, in my view, play a great role in every grandchild's life. And sometimes in child custody situation, the one parent who has a greater part of the custody of the kid tends to unfortunately block the visitation or contact of the child with the grandparents of the.
So you want to better define?
And the state of Maryland is not the state where we have a definition of what constitutes grandparents' rights. So this bill is going to define for the judges of what is in the best interest of the child.
Wonderful stuff that you're doing. Working hard, Delegate. I should say Delegate or Dr. Jalisi. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
We appreciate it. Stay right there. And that'll do it for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Yolanda Vasquez. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you again real soon.